friend. Welcome to today's episode of Unlock Your Blocks. My name is Elyssa Smith, and I'm excited to talk to you today about people pleasing women and the sexist programming that is in their brains. You may not even realize, if you're a people pleasing woman, that you have been suffering from a sexist set of programs that are running in your subconscious. Today, I'm going to deconstruct what's actually happening, where it came from, and how you actually can take back the reins and not only step into equality with your male counterparts, but also step into a life of ease that is not dictated by pleasing everyone else and making them happy. So let's dive right in. Why is people pleasing a sexist program? Okay. I want you to think about everything that you've ever heard about little girls. We know that there have been several studies done that teachers, even all the way back to preschool, expect little girls to be more obedient than little boys. Boys will be boys. Have you heard this saying? So this is a sort of patriarchal look at things. Now, I'm not going to get deep into politics or anything like this. I just want you to understand that predominantly women are the ones who will self-identify as pleasers. 52% of women actually will self-identify that way. They're the ones saying like, yeah, I'm totally a pleaser. And not everyone knows they're doing it. So to me, that statistic could end up being higher if all the women are truly self-aware of what their motivation is for doing what they do during a day. So nice girls, good girls, be a good girl, be nice. All of these different messages. Maybe you heard the one that says be seen and not heard. You know, I have a lot of one-to-one clients who come from a generation where their parents expected that the children would be quiet and seen and not heard and not make a fuss, not be demanding, not be rude. Everyone has to be nice. There's always been a bit of an inequality between boys and girls. Now, I'm a boy mom and my son knows that as a, white male growing up in a privileged household and a privileged society, he has a lot of responsibility to help other people who don't have as much of a voice. And he has witnessed sexism against me, which is so interesting. And things that have happened to me where I've been mansplained in front of my son. If you don't know what mansplaining is, it's when I'm explaining mansplaining. This is hilarious. It's when a man, thinking that you as a woman do not understand something fully, breaks it down for you. I've been mansplained about my own expertise, by the way, not that long ago, by a guy who thought that he should probably explain to me why the way that I talk about things is probably not the way that I should talk about things. So there's a lot in our society that's unfair to women in general. Now, without getting into a major political rhetoric, I just want to identify and kind of get to this problem of why people pleasing primarily affects women. And it is because of these young children sort of programs that we get programmed with, which is that girls should be nice. Boys don't necessarily hear that message as often as girls do. And the fact that actual preschool teachers were polled for this one study that I pulled from for today that said teachers primarily expect girls to be better behaved than boys. And granted, there are lots of things that are different in the nature of girls versus the nature of boys. I mean, as a boy mom, I know what my son has always been like. However, the expectation across the board that every little girl should not be rude, should not speak up, should not be demanding is a problem. And this is mainly where this stems from, this people-pleasing issue that affects women. Now, what happens if the other thing is too, the reason that this is a problem is because women are twice as likely to be diagnosed with an anxiety, mental or emotional health disorder. And oftentimes it goes back to trying to keep other people happy, which is entirely outside of what we actually can control. And it's completely unrelated to keeping other people happy, is unrelated to us being aligned with ourselves. Every time you have ever chosen to please another person instead of choosing yourself or deciding that your needs were worth it or putting them above yourself. Now, I am a mom, so with our kids, we do this all the time, right? So like, I don't really love to stay up late and police the shower time and make sure that my son knows what to expect the next day. And I don't super love all the details and the logistics of being a mom, but I absolutely do those things for this little human that I love and that I'm responsible for, right? So there are people in our lives that we will, even if you don't have kids, you will choose to put put someone else in front of yourself. And occasionally that's a really, really good thing. It's necessary if you have children that are depending on you. But when we have that as a pattern from childhood because of messaging to little girls that says, you need to be nice above everything else. You need to share. No, your brother doesn't have to share. And maybe it wasn't overt in your household. In my household, it was not necessarily a sexist message, except for just being exposed to society's expectations for a little girl versus like for my brother, for example. So when we have had that programming and we learned that as kids, it's better to abandon yourself as a little girl, to shut down your needs and to make somebody else happy than it is to actually speak up and say, that doesn't work for me, or set a boundary or ask for a need to be met. Then we set ourselves up for lifelong anxiety. We set ourselves up for all kinds of, fear of abandonment, saying yes when you mean no. I mean, the adult results of being programmed as a little girl pleaser can be catastrophic. For me, they were, because I got to a place of depression and not wanting to be on this earth anymore when I was in my early 20s, feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so flawed and I can't keep everyone happy and these relationships are falling apart. And it happens to be that I just didn't know how to take up my own space. I didn't know how to stand in my power. I didn't know how to even recognize what I really needed. So being a pleaser, being a good girl, a nice girl, and I have a friend who says, I'm not nice, I'm kind. And she says that because everyone says be nice. Everyone says girls should be nice, sugar and spice and everything nice, right? I grew up with that little saying. And it causes you to say yes when you need to say no, which can set you up for ignoring your own needs chronically, getting really ill physically, mentally, or emotionally. It sets you up for a fear of abandonment because maybe you have actual evidence that if you're not nice, you're not going to get your needs met. It also sets you up for mental and physical health issues because when you are nice over being authentic, so you can either be nice all the time and have that as your bar and keeping everyone else happy, be the nice girl, or you can be authentic. You can be kind and authentic, but you typically can't be the stereotypical nice girl who never has any needs, who never upsets anybody, who never rocks the boat for any reason. You typically can't have those traits and still live an authentic life. And when you don't live an authentic life, when you are not focused on being your true self in every situation, what happens is that you stay in a prolonged survival state. When you're in a prolonged survival state, you lose access to everything that you lose access to when you're in survival mode running from a wild animal. So, nobody who's running from a wild animal needs their long-term decision-making capacity. Nobody needs to have their higher level thinking. Nobody needs their immune system, their digestive or reproductive systems. Like all those things go offline when there is this high alert state. Your nervous system knows if you don't feel comfortable asking for what you need because you're a nice girl. You've been programmed to please. And when that happens and your immune system goes offline for a long period of time, you can end up with autoimmune issues. You can end up with chronic fatigue, physical illnesses where your body is attacking itself. I had early onset arthritis when I was 30 years old because I was in all kinds of trauma because I had pleased my way into an abusive relationship where it was proven over and over again, I need to be nicer. I need to please more in order to get my needs met more. So maybe we do have evidence. Maybe as a kid, we got our needs met more the more quiet we were, or the more perfect we were, or the more nice and caring about other people. When we kept our parents happy, when we kept our dad from getting mad, or if we kept our mom from having whatever it is, like maybe there was abuse in your household, or even without that, I grew up in a really nice, good household, and I still came out with performance-based self-worth, believing that the nice girl is the one who's eventually going to get rewarded, which, by the way, spoiler alert, the only way you can be rewarded in life is if you know who you are, you ask for what you need, and you develop a resilience that allows you to cope no matter if someone else helps you get what you need or works against you. I thought that if I was just nice enough, if I could just keep everyone happy enough, A plus B equals C. So I'm going to be nice, plus I'm going to keep people happy and not have my own needs be up too high because I don't want to turn anyone off or be abandoned. That should equal that I then end up getting my needs met because I'm helping everyone else around me get their needs met. I'm going to get my needs met. Spoiler alert. It does not work that way. So you might have actual evidence that if you're nicer, then you get more needs met. But guess what? As an adult, it leads to so many problems. You can be susceptible to abuse like I was. You're majorly susceptible to burnout. And you actually don't end up putting yourself out there or advancing your business, your career, your personal friendships, your relationships. So you're going to end up leaving a whole lot of good stuff on the table if you are susceptible to this sort of sexist idea that's geared towards keeping women playing small. And I'm not saying there's like a conspiracy theory. I just think it's historical, especially in the US where I live. Like, historically speaking, little girls were staying in the household. They weren't going out and having jobs, having businesses, things like this. A lot of this is new. Women are still breaking ground all over the world and being able to do the things that they were really put here on earth to do, regardless of who gets mad about it. So, what's the solution to this? Each one of us needs to identify where she got the messaging that she needed to play small in order to be safe. Where did she learn? Where did each of us learn that we needed to keep people happy and be nice? I'm using air quotes in order to get our needs met. Where did we learn those things? Was it actually from our caregivers? Was it from someone else? Maybe it was a babysitter. Maybe it was a grandparent. Maybe it was from someone, an authority figure at school. Maybe it came from, a group that we were involved in. It could have come from a lot of different places. And if you want to get to the root of yours, you need to figure out where it came from for you. Where did that message come from? It could have been an active message from someone, or it could have been a covert message from someone. Maybe it wasn't something that someone was like, you need to be a good girl, but maybe instead it was just implied that you needed to be nice in order to get what you wanted or what you needed from someone, including up to and including affection, acceptance, the things that we crave and need as kids in order to actually survive. So once you ID the origins of this, then you want to look at nervous system regulation techniques. And this is what we talk about a lot on this podcast. And it's what I work with all my one-to-one clients about. It's what I work with my next level members in my membership on. And it has to do with helping your survival system get the message that you're safe, that you're not going to be picked off by a predator in several different ways that bypass the thinking brain. So it can be deep breaths. It can be, if you watched my TEDx talk, there's a technique that I teach on there called polyvagal hands. And you're, using your hands to kind of activate the vagus nerve and help it put you back in a rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system state. There are so many ways and so many techniques that we now know about that will bypass this survival response and start to rewire your brain immediately. So once you know where it's coming from, you start to use the nervous system regulation. Another thing that you want to look at is we need to see this for what it is. This is programming, specifically that comes across to women exponentially more than men, that it keeps us obedient, teaches us that we have to be obedient and small in order to stay safe. So if you can notice what your trigger response feels like with this, I used to not be able to tolerate at all the idea of setting a boundary with someone because I didn't know how to keep myself safe setting a boundary with someone. And so the way that you want to look at this is, okay, what is it that my system needs in order to stay safe? And do I actually need to be smaller? Do I actually need to not speak up? Or are there other ways I can keep myself safe that don't require me to push my needs down? Another thing that really helps is having scripts and support as you begin to speak up for yourself. I remember I've had several clients who've had this experience, but I had one specific one-to-one client who had never said no to her siblings before, and she was in her phase. And her siblings wanted her to come back to her home state for a little while and help with something with one of the parents. And she was like, I can't say no to this. And it was like very dysregulating for her. So what we worked through in that session together as she was trying to make this decision, am I going back? Am I not going back? We kind of decided it's probably, if we're just looking logically at this scenario, there's nothing you can do if you go there to help. All the logistics are taken care of. It's probably going to expose you to formerly abusive members of your family. And there's not a lot that's going to be there that's going to help edify you, nor are you going to be able to do a lot for them. So then what remains is to decide, does she have the tolerance to say no. And if you are used to saying yes when you need to be saying no because that's what is best for you, it is very dysregulating to try and say a no where you used to say yes. So working with someone the way that she worked with me to decide what's the script that you're saying, what is the worst case scenario? How do you plan for the worst case scenario? I play the worst case scenario with my clients a lot because a lot of us have anxiety about deciding to do something different than we've done before. This window of tolerance is what I like to talk about. And it's the window of tolerance is the amount of new behavior you could do, the amount of growth, change, positive direction, that you could accomplish without throwing yourself back into survival mode. Because if we try to change cold turkey, it's just too much for our system. Our system's like, I can't handle it. But if you can just notice where your window of tolerance for change is, like we were doing in this session, then you can decide, okay, here's what I think would feel authentic to me to say. And then the next step is, okay, what if you get resistance? What's your broken record phrase? Like I walk people through individually a whole set of circumstances to help you say no when you need to say no and to help you tolerate new behavior when it comes to letting go of the pleasing your way to safety mechanism. So I hope that this is helpful to give you an idea of, hey, this is not just you like, oh, I'm a people pleaser. It's like, no, society programs little girls to be good. Society programs little girls to be nice and be smaller and to be seen and not heard. This is not your fault. This is family structures. This is societal structures. And across the world, I have clients that find me internationally who live in active cultures where women are still so subjugated that they're not free to say no when someone asks them to do something, depending on their family situation. So listen, this is not your fault. This is something that you can absolutely start taking some steps to remedy today. And if you would like some help with that, feel free to always, if you're a woman and you're listening to this, you can book a free 15-minute Unlock Your Blocks focus session with me. We will uncover the layers. I will help you lay out your next steps so that you can live free of this particular survival response. So I hope you found this helpful. I will see you back here next time. And until then, take such good care of yourself.